Okay. I'm Caroline. I'm from Kansas City, Missouri, and I study graphic design at the Kansas City Art Institute.
Hi, I'm Renee. I'm from Orange County, California, and I currently study physics at Yale.
I'm Wei Qing. I'm from Guangzhou, China. I'm currently studying civil and environmental engineering in the UK.
I'm Zoe. I go to Dickinson College, and I'm majoring in environmental studies. And thank you all for being here.
So like everyone else pretty much mentioned, like we know when our team arrived on the site, like the problems that North Berkeley faced were really obvious. It's a complete parking lot. That's pretty much what the whole property is, surrounded by a sea of really low level, small, single family houses on the higher end of the market, so not available for the average person. Also, we really thought it was a problem that the property was directly intersecting the Ohlone Greenway, making people that were bikers or walkers have to go around the property on a pretty average sidewalk just to continue their walk on the Greenway. So that was also a major problem. And it's pretty much a food desert. Beside the University Ave, there's some like gray area there, but it's not the most walkable neighborhood with access to a lot of ample community resources. So our first iteration involved 3 different scenarios, each of them prioritizing different things. So the island one prioritized the need for public space. Like this property has like absolutely no public furniture, barely any public amenities. You have to pay to get inside the BART station to use the restrooms. There's no water fountains, none of that. So Island focused on that. Ascend focused on bringing in like high density, mixed use development, and then Cascade focused more on restoring the ecology and like landscape architecture. And then we created these through the lens of different stakeholders, strategies, and possible events that might happen. And then through our second round of iterations and after some feedback, we decided that the best approach was to combine all 3 of these and try to come up with a solution that solved multiple problems and not just one that had like the most positive outcomes for the most amount of people.
Yes. So the North Berkeley Lattice is our proposal to reach the goal of mixed-use building, interactive public space, and retaining the broken ecosystem. So it's a composition of a large-scale lattice and a small-scale lattice. So the large-scale lattice is based on the city scale, and then here we can see the Virginia Street and the Sacramento Street, and then that's the large scale, which is like 500 feet by 500 feet. And then we know that here it's a long Ohlone Green Park, and here it's a Ohlone Greenway where it was disconnected by the parking lot. So we want to connect it with a diagonal green and open public area to start our design. And then we filled it up with like little lattices, and they are actually the mixed-use big building blocks. So each of the little units is like 100 feet by 100 feet, and we designed in a way that it's like mixed residential area, which will be a combination of various units of affordable housing and unaffordable housing to get our costs back.
Market rate.
Yes, to get the market rate.
That's what they are.
They are, yes. So each one little block with a courtyard inside. The courtyard is like 42 feet by 42 feet, and each of the little unit is like 1 or 2 story layer. So in that sense, we can stack all these little courtyards up together, and it will no higher than 4 stories because we want to keep the whole area relatively low story. And then other than these residential area, we design them. We then build the surrounding, which will be commercial area, but they could be a mix of retail sales, restaurants, healthcare center, or even like education systems, because we want to also like bring up the education opportunity from UC Berkeley. And then on top of these commercial area, we can then put a walk-up rooftop. So when people grab a coffee here, and then they can bring their phone on top of the green rooftop and then enjoy the sunshine there. And then in terms of the circulation, we want to keep the cars away from the main site, and then we push the car park down to the ground. It's actually making sense that you can basically connect the BART to the parking, or then we can also make it flexible, so it could be changed when like cars no longer dominate element, then we can change become underground like retail sales area. And then inside the park, it will basically pedestrian and bicycle dominated. And then when we look at the section of it, we can see like here it's like sweet slice, going through it. The section is a combination of the proposal of ascent and cascade. So basically we want to bring them slightly up and then down. So here you have bigger open space with the distance to height ratio roughly like 4:1 or like 5:1, and then you have like more private public space for the residents there. It's roughly like 1:5:1 ratio, so you have a really comfortable, cozy environment inside. And then it's a mix of the systems, including the retaining the water and the parking and even the solar energy. And then my colleague will talk about the details.
Yeah, so zooming into the specific strategical details we decided to place, for our small-scale architectural strategy, we wanted there to be like a semi-public, semi-private place for residents of the area to be able to gather and create a community vibe. So we decided to go with courtyards inside the lattice. So you can see here, this is an inside view. We wanted there to be pleasant design, benches, fountains, and just a nice central location for people from each lattice structure to come together without being completely exposed to whoever and whomever decides to go to the station. And as for mixed use, we also wanted the perimeter to be mixed use. So on the bottom, there would be commercial, business, retail spaces. We didn't want to sacrifice that in our design. But on top, we would have maybe 1 or 2 stories of housing so that we could get as much housing density in there as possible without sacrificing retail. But when we're selecting retail companies or commercial sites, we wanted there to be some informed decisions. So we wanted there to be 50-50 local businesses or community services, things like grocery markets, affordable grocery markets, things like senior health centers. I think there was one place that was closing down near North Berkeley that there was apparently a protest at. We talked to someone there, and it's something that's on the mind of the neighborhood. And places like this, we wanted that to be present in the retail and commercial space. And in terms of our big architectural strategy, again, we wanted the convex lattice. So it's kind of like a bimodal peak. That's how I think about it. It's like this. So the end and the perimeter is small or single-story, double-story places that integrate really well with the single-story houses and neighborhoods of the outside. So it goes up, and in the middle of the bimodal peaks, we have 4-story housing units, and then it goes back down for the public space. So there's easy access from one end to the other end without there being needs for like staircases and ramps and things like that. In terms of our landscape on small scale, we wanted there to be native plants. This is locally inspired. A lot of the places in North Berkeley have a lot of native landscape plants, and plants like these are very resistant to drought. They're perfect for the ecosystem because they're from here, and they're also beautiful. So I think that was a really good way to get a non-invasive, beautiful, drought-resistant plant. In terms of connecting the greenways, we wanted there to be a connection easily from the Lone Greenway to the Lone Park, so that people didn't have to go all the way around the structure of the parking lot in order to get through the station. But we also wanted it to serve as kind of like a magnetic force. We wanted people to be able to easily access our station for it to become a hub. And in terms of rainwater filtering, we wanted there to be rain gardens and water ponds on the top and throughout the station. So like on the roofs, you can kind of see in this, the green is, like a rooftop garden. And we wanted this to be able to kind of hold and store rainwater, filter it naturally, and if there is an excess, drain it to the water pipe and into stormwater, but hopefully just collecting most of it into the soil.
Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the infrastructure on the small scale. After reading an article about unpleasant design, we wanted to do the opposite and be really mindful of having enjoyable design, which sounds like just a basic thing. But we talked a little bit to some residents and like people using the station, and they don't have like amenities. So adding that, making public furniture really flexible, and having people use the space in their own way, and adding more lighting that makes the area safe as well. So on the medium scale, we wanted it to be a lot of renewable resources in the buildings, having an opportunity for solar panels and green spaces, but in general, we thought about expanding the BART station with different kind of extensions and using those spaces as a sustainable education place, and also different, it could be used kind of differently as well. And on the macro level, we thought about the system as a whole and how people will navigate around the development and through the development. So having a lot of entrances here is a diagram, and the yellow is pedestrian. So both like using the greenway, but also having a lot of entrances through the property through the commercial area. And making sure it's very connected with different transit options. So keeping the parking, and because there is a population of people who use cars, and allowing for buses and of course the BART. So now I'm going to talk about our board. So Lattice is named after the grid we have. Overall, we wanted this board to be really, really flexible in arranging the pieces. So we have a grid system, and within the grid we can place these triangles which have holes in it. It's kind of like Legos. So we can place the development pieces, which are white, in the different circles. So the pieces, the triangle, plain ones are commercial, while the triangle-shaped, more decorative ones are housing. And then we have other elements, kind of additional ones, like waterways and building decorations, and the BART station, as well as some transit routes, so these arrows